Alright, hello everyone. As the title of this video suggests, and as I'm sure you can infer from looking at what I have in front of me here, this video is going to be about the Dungeons Dragons collectible minifigure series from LEGO. I have a pretty unique perspective as to this series because not only am I a fan of LEGO, and I have been since a wee lad, I also have DM'd and played Dungeons & Dragons since roughly 2018, so it's a good 7 years of play. I feel like a lot of the people I've seen review this either are really big LEGO fans or they're really big D&D fans, but I've seen very few reviews that are a crossover of someone who genuinely likes both. And so that is going to be my perspective. As the year comes to an end, once we roll into 2025, there will be no more of these. These are going to go away, which is unfortunate because this is the most successful, best-selling CMF series to my knowledge. So hopefully LEGO will do more, but this sort of directly competes with Wizards of the Coast's plastic printed minis. And so I feel as though we probably will just be getting this and the big set, and then that is it. So as these sort of quietly fade away into the night, I wanted to do a reflection and share with you all how many of these I was able to pick up, what I think about them, and just my collection overall. I wanted to make sure that I show you all the little manual that comes within each box. This sort of just shows off all the different types of figures that are within the series. Lots of really cool stuff, and we'll get more into the logistics of the figures in a moment. In the back, as always with these CMFs, we have like a cool printed graphic of this Aarakocra up here, and then several different like instructions for the more complicated figs. Alright, so here we are looking at the full spread of all of the figs I was able to pull out in the wild. I have ordered them from sort of most to least, descending on how many I have. I do have a full set. Actually, I have 2 full sets of them, which I'm very thankful for. So yeah, let's get right into it. First and foremost, the Mind Flayer with Intellect Devourer. This is, I mean, I really like all of these, so I might say this a couple times, but this is one of my favorite figs. The head mold is just so good. The printing on the figure is really nice. They even have arm printing and back printing on the like the cloak. And then you get an Intellect Devourer, and I just think as a $5 figure that you can pick up, and this one definitely was not as competitive to find as some of the other figs, which I will get to in a moment. This is just such a good fig to be able to pick up because you're getting 2 monsters from the monster manual, and this is just part of the reason why I have so many is, you know, in an adventure you can encounter like a cave filled with Intellect Devourers or a Nautiloid ship with a bunch of Mind Flayers on it, and it's just good to be getting monsters. This isn't a named character, this isn't something that's supposed to be like a player character, this is just a creature that you're going to encounter on your adventures, and if they were to do another series, I think pulling creatures out of the monster manual would be a really cool, awesome idea, because, I mean, I would get a bunch of them, but, you know, that's just me. So, Mind Flayer, awesome. One of my favorite figs. Moving on to the Tiefling Warlock. What's really cool about the Tiefling, or maybe this is a Sorcerer, Spellcaster Tiefling, what I really like about these figures is the interchangeable heads, and we knocked the dragon off. We'll get to that in a second. The heads are reversible for these figures, so you can have multiple different facial expressions, and as a figure that's supposed to represent a player character, I actually think that a lot of LEGO figs, it's a good idea to be using them as D&D miniatures, because generally speaking, the D&D miniature is one static piece of plastic, sort of like this dragon, with no posability, no ability to take pieces off or customize or change the expression. But as you go through an adventure as a D&D player, you get new armor, you go through different circumstances, your characters cosmetically may change. And so creating LEGO figs as D&D player characters, I think, is a fantastic idea because they are better almost in every way to the standard plastic sort of 3D printed stuff that Wizards of the Coast is putting out. They also gave you male and female versions of each head. That way you can customize your character to sort of that higher degree. And what's really cool about that is when you get a lot of these, you end up with this stack of extra heads that you could make more figures. You could find more orange pieces. You could very easily take an Ahsoka orange torso from Star Wars, slap one of these heads on it, find some hair with some horns, or even some hair without some horns, and now you have another female tiefling. I didn't talk too much about the little dragon that comes with this. I think it's really cool that they're including a dragon. Familiars are something that are very important in D&D. I believe that's a new mold, and it's very cool. Similarly, with the Aarakocra, you get this little dog. And I just think having the option of having familiars is just really fun. It's something that I, as a DM, like to try and give my players the option to find familiars or start with a familiar if they're a wizard. Or as a player, I like to have. It's just a cool thing that will come up, and I'm glad that they sort of... You can tell that a lot of the design that went into these characters, they considered playability. So I really appreciate that. This, I believe, is a ranger, and I really like the torso here. What's cool about the torso is there's no visible, like, white, like they didn't put, like, a open collar or anything, so you can take this colored torso off of this figure and put it on something else and have a non-Aarakocra ranger using that same sort of leather chest piece, which is really cool. Moving on to the first named character, Strahd von Zarovich. So this is Strahd. I have run a Curse of Strahd campaign, so this is a little bit more of a sentimental fig to pick up for me. He's just really cool, you know, classic vampire. I think that they made it look very similar to Strahd in the character art for him. And he's got this little rat with red eyes. I just think that's such a cool little figure to include. Also, these newer swords, I think they originally were in the Lord of the Rings sets, but they've shown up in a lot of other stuff since then. So it's just cool to get more of those swords. And he does have a alternate face. I guess I will just pick up this Strahd. Sort of more smiling and smirking. He comes with this little cup. Nice dark blue cape. I don't know if they print very many capes in that dark blue. I imagine maybe in some of the Marvel or the superhero series that could be the case, but I'm not as aware of those. The Bard, the Elf Bard. This is a really cool figure. The design of this lute is really high quality. The design of the clothing is really fun. I like the scarf. I like the multiple facial expressions. You have this sort of singing for the guy, and then you have this more cocky sort of smirk. He also comes with a couple rapiers. Just a really cool fig overall. I do really like the female version with this sort of like shiny metallic blue, if I can get my camera to focus, metallic blue sort of lipstick. I think the female character has a lot more personality in her design than the male character, but the male character reminds me a lot of Astarion from Baldur's Gate. If you were to try and make a Astarion custom fig, this would be a great hairpiece to be doing that. Also, I guess while I'm talking about these, a cool thing to point out is that the base plates that they give you have this like rock texture on them, and the normal base plates that you get for these collectible minifigures do not have that. So that's just a cool little added level of detail. You could be using these bases as your bases for, you know, playing and moving around the character. You can use them in play, which sort of circles back to what I was saying about you can tell that the designers were thinking about that kind of thing. The Druid, I think in terms of the pieces that you get for the Druid, is one of the cooler figs. This like print, this molded hood with horns is really cool. You get this little bird familiar. This cape is a really cool double-sided, like 2 different colors cape. The torso is again a torso that there's no visible like skin, So you can take it off and not have to match it with anything. You could put a yellow figurehead on there. You could put, a tiefling head on here, and you could have a tiefling druid, or you could even make this a rogue or a ranger. I could see just as easily. There's a lot of good customizable pieces. As I've been doing with everything, I guess I'm just going to show you it this way is probably a little bit easier. There's the male version of the head, and then the reverse side. These two here are the reverse sides of both of the heads. There's the head on that druid. I really like the druid. I think that's cool. The Gith. The Gith. I think that the Gith, this is the Warlock, and then the Tiefling was the Sorcerer. The Gith, Warlock. I really like the printing on the torso of this fig. The staff with the eyeball is a really cool printed piece to get. You get these like scales or like the skin marks that Gith have on their face, which is a really cool addition that I appreciate. I will say, I do not know why they made them yellow. I know that Gith can be yellow, but I know that the majority of the art I've seen, and if I remember, I'll chuck a couple pictures up on screen, are green, or maybe a pea color green. I don't really have a problem with it. I think that it looks like a really good Gith. It's very clearly a Gith, but for the purpose of using these as playable figs in D&D, my worry is this looks far too similar to just a yellow-headed minifigure, and it, when placed with lots of yellow-headed minifigures, is less recognizable as this sort of green-skinned, sort of space fantasy alien that the Gith are known for. But in terms of the printing and the design, aside from that, I do really think that this is one of the standout figures of the series. I just fresh off of Baldur's Gate really have learned to appreciate the Gith a lot more. Great face for if you're trying to make Lae'zel from Baldur's Gate. What is cool about the yellow is with these printed pieces with the ears, though, you could make a lot of elves. You could do a lot customizing the hairpiece with the yellow fig. So there are pros and cons to it. It's not all bad. Moving onward, the Dwarf. Now, these are the ones that I was only able to find a couple of. I think I was able to find a couple more dwarves, but I only really wanted 2. Maybe I'll come to regret that later. But there's the male dwarf barbarian with this really cool new molded axe head. I really like these dual molded arms and the torch. Really rugged looking. And then for the lady, not much difference here. I do like the sort of split in the eyebrow. Hard to see with the shine from my camera, but very cool. Not much to say there. I just think that these are cool figs. Tasha the Witch Queen. Another of the actual named D&D characters, and another perfect example of them really going all out for these figures. The hat with the molded hair is cool. The purple flames and the cauldron that you're included with is sick. This book looks like maybe Tasha's Hideous Laughter, perhaps, is the enchantment that is in there, which is an actual spell in D&D. I'm assuming because it's related to Tasha that is what the spell is, but it's all a bunch of gobbledygook in there. So if there are any goblins out there capable of reading gobbledygook, you can confirm this for me. It could also be vicious mockery or cutting words, but I'm going to go ahead and assume, because this is Tasha the Witch Queen, that it's supposed to be Tasha's Hideous Laughter, which you can also see her sort of doing the classic witch cackling here. This is a really good torso and legs and arms. I've seen a lot of people do some really cool customs with those, so that is a cool fig for customizing more things. Another named character, Szass Tam. Really cool. I like the red. It's sort of hard to see on my camera, but there is a skeleton face on that red head that you're holding. I don't know, maybe that represents Artistry of War, which is a spell in D&D where you blast a bunch of red skulls at someone, sort of like a magic missile, but a little bit more potent, higher level spell. And I just really think this is a cool lich character. This one, I have a headpiece from a Star Wars character. I believe that the Star Wars character is from a Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars set. So this is actually kind of rare headpiece. Shout out to Lars. My friend Lars gave me this headpiece, and we put it on top of this because we thought it would look cool. And I think it kind of does. It gives him sort of this like crown thing, but just know that doesn't come with the set. If you want to do that, you have to find it yourself online. Lady of Pain. This is, I think, probably the most unique of this roster of very unique characters. I mean, really crazy cloth piece that you're getting here. There's back printing on the fig. You get this little piece to represent them floating. Really crazy helmet piece. This is just a helmet, just sort of like a black or maybe like a dark metallic headpiece. Nothing crazy. It's really just this insanely molded top headpiece. Last and not least, the fan favorite, the Dragonborn Paladin. This guy is a sort of white whale for a lot of people, as I think just the past, not this CMF series, but the one right before it, they released an ability to scan the boxes and know what is inside of the box. And so, people are just gobbling these up. I've seen people complaining about how absolutely impossible it is to find these guys, and I will agree. I found the first one because my friend Calvin was able to discover a Walmart that had just recently stocked these boxes of CMFs. There was 3 fresh boxes. I left the house having heard that, made it to Walmart about 15 to 20 minutes after he had told me that these new boxes were out, and already there was only one of these guys left. I could only find one within 3 fresh, full, stocked boxes of these CMF things. I could only find the one. I'm very glad I did, because from the armor pieces to the molding and printing around all of the legs, and the arms have custom printing that's just really high quality. This armor is super good. I think people just really want to be army building with these, but I know that the dragons, this molded headpiece for the dragon, is also starting to get pretty expensive. There's only 4 colors. There is the gold dragon, which comes in these. There is a green one, which comes in the $360 Dungeons Dragons set that maybe at some point I will do a review of on this channel. I do not have that set yet, but maybe 2025 I will break down and decide to finally purchase it. But then there is also 2 more obscure molds of this head. This mold, I guess, originally came out in a series called LEGO Video. I think there's like a light blue one and a red one from the video series, and both are in a lot of money. I think the blue one is over $100 now, so that's pretty crazy. That should just show you how coveted these are. I was able to find a second one, completely different store. Also, last one in the box. This one, I think I was with my girlfriend, so shout out Margaret, when we were hunting for these. So if it weren't for friends and loved ones, I would not have been able to acquire either of these 2. So that's sort of my long-winded rant. I do think that this is probably the coolest fig of the lot. I don't know if it's my favorite one. I think that might still be the Mind Flayer, but I think it does have the cool factor. It certainly has the army building factor. I know I've seen a lot of people making some really cool customs with these. I like this fig. I just wish that it wasn't being gobbled up by everyone on the earth. So yeah, if you like this style of content, I do want to make more LEGO review sort of stuff. I have a lot of Legos. I am actually working on beginning a fully LEGO Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and I want to slowly start releasing videos as to my collection and my process for that here. So if you want to see more of that, make sure to subscribe. I can't guarantee how often I'm going to upload these videos. It's just going to sort of be when I feel like it. So stick around, turn the bell notification thing on if you want to be notified when I upload something like this. But it will just be when I feel like it. So, yeah. Peace.